Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by RacerX, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by RacerX, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by RacerX.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nesler. Hey, before we dive into our guests today, I want to tell you about RacerX's newest promotion. If you subscribe or renew right now, you can enter to win a set of Method race wheels and Maxxis tires. Packages worth up to $2,500. You also get sent 12 collectible 2021 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross event stickers, which is always something special to have from each one of the rounds. They're going to send it to you. So you can be sure to use our link. It's racerxonline.com/moto marketing. Pretty cool package. Method race wheels and Maxxis tires. Again, value of $2,500. So we've got a really cool episode for you today. We've got two guests with us, which is a little bit unusual for how we do things, and I'm excited about it because I want to learn more about the brand. I want you to learn more about this brand, and you know, who better to have than these two folks on. We have Hannah Reese and Rob Kulik from Flow Formulas, and they're doing some really cool things in the cycling and endurance space. And Moto, you know, obviously no stranger to using cycling as a training tool, and there's so much crossover. I mean, we see the work that Specialized has done in the GNCC series as the title sponsor. I mean, there's so much crossover between Moto and cycling. I'm an avid cyclist myself, and the way that I met these folks actually was from a former two-time guest of this show, Tyler Pierce, the vegan cyclist who's been on to talk to us about sponsorship and things like that, is actually an athlete for Rob and Hannah's brand. So Rob, Hannah, welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys being on with us.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. So Tyler introduced Rob. I think it was you and I initially, and kind of started talking, and I thought, man, it'd be really great to have you guys come on the show. And then one of your other partners, Ryan, and I had a conversation here recently as well. So Rob or Hannah, let's start with whichever one of you would like to go. Just kind of fill us in on what is Flow and where did it come from, and what are some of the things you guys are trying to do, you know, with the brand and in the sport.
Cool. Rob, can I take the first half? You want to take the second half?
Oh yeah, this is you.
Cool. Yes, I'll just start with where we started. Flow Formulas was birthed literally from my house 3 years ago. I was training, trying to get to the Olympic trials in the marathon, and found I had like several food allergies and was just kind of not sure what to do at that point. Found corn was a major one. So I was like, you know what? I'm a dietitian. I can do this. I'm going to go to the research and just create a drink for myself. So that's what I did. I just kind of bared myself and just looked through all the research and was like, all right, I'm going to at least get a competitive edge if I'm going to do this. So I tried some testing. Some of the first ones were pretty terrible tasting. And then kind of got to a place I was like, wow, this is really good. I'm enjoying this. Took it on my long rides and runs. And Caleb, he's also a co-founder. He was getting his PhD at the time and pretty much broke as a joke, you know, when you're in college. And he was like, hey, can I have some of your drink mix? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I gave it to him, and he has a lot of friends that are mountain bikers. And so they were like, oh, hey, can we have some of that? And then they were like, oh, can we buy this? And I really just started from there. And they were like, you should consider starting a company. And I was like, okay, all right, let's do this.
What year was this? When
this is back 2017 was when it first, I created it. It wasn't until 2018 we started getting things rolling.
That's again, I mean, there's everybody listening to this show knows there's a lot of crossover in cycling and moto, but I think important to understand the nutrition and fueling strategy for a cyclist, especially at a competitive level versus a motocross athlete. Motocross athletes aren't taking in nutrition during the race, even though it's a grueling sport. Cycling, that's the equivalent of making sure you put enough motorcycle or gas in your motorcycle. As a cyclist or a runner, like, it's very important to have a during the event fueling strategy. So you had said you were having some issues with other products that were on the market, and there's tons of products on the market, and I know that struggle. Like, it's very hard for me to find something that doesn't kind of mess up my gut, when I'm trying to take in like a carb mixture or whatever it is. What didn't you like about what was out there that you wanted to kind of change when making something that sounds like it started out for yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing was corn. So all the available sports drink on the market had corn in them.
Okay.
So that was my initial, like, hey, I need to create something. But from there, once I started digging into the research, I was like, well, what can I do to help my stomach? Because I also was really sensitive to things and would just start, just feeling bad while I'm training. And especially when you're racing, you really don't want to be feeling like I need to peel off and hit the porta potty or something. So just looking at the research and being like, what can I digest and how has this been proven? That's what I'm going to put in my drink so that I can feel good and really I don't want to have any GI issues is kind of where I started at.
And as far as the products that you guys have right now, is it all centered around fueling on the bike or on the run, or is there, we'll call it workout, and then post, event recovery? Like, where are you guys mainly focused, or is it kind of across the gamut?
Sure. So we started as just the original endurance sports drinks. I primarily created for during. And then a lot of people don't know this, but it actually works really well as I use it to preload too, especially if my hydration or my nutrition is a little bit off during the day and I'm about to go hit a hard workout or something. Works great, 30 minutes, 15 minutes before. And then throughout, that's our endurance sports drink. Then we have a recovery drink we have right now. Mm-hmm. And then we're looking to release some new products. So we're hoping to get, as you called it, just across the gamut. We're just kind of working our way, doing one thing at a time.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I always really geek out about just the nutrition side of these sports. Like, I listen to, I don't know if you guys listen to the Trainer Road podcast or any of those things. And they, I don't know. I just really find it interesting that what you put in your body during an event, if you do it better than the next person, it can make a noticeable difference. I recently just did a gravel race a couple weeks ago. Rob, you had sent me some product to try, and I used it. And it was awesome. And what was really cool is this gravel race was in the middle of West Virginia in Shinston, which is just a blip on the radar. Like, most people, unless you're from this area, have no idea where that place is. But at one of the first aid station, there were people that sent out a bunch of their own nutrition in Ziploc bags, and they could grab it at the first aid station. I looked down, and I'm not kidding. Literally all I saw on the top layer was Flow. And I was like, I almost tried to grab a photo, but I was in a weird headspace. It was not a good day for me. But it was really cool to see that. So one of the reasons I was excited to have you guys on the show today is it's something that everybody, aspires to do, is you have something that can make the market better. You have a better product to bring to the market, and then turning it into a brand that people want to attach themselves with. That's always the goal, and that's one of the hardest things in the world to do as a business owner. And you guys are doing it, and you've done it really quickly. So I saw it at a random gravel race in West Virginia with my own two eyes, that people are using this new product that a year ago I'd never heard of. And then now, you're partnering with some bigger names in cycling on YouTube, whether it's Dylan, I'm blanking on his name, but Dylan Johnson. I watch a lot of his content. I'm sure a lot of people in the Moto community do, because he puts a lot of really great cycling content out. And then Tyler Pierce. So how do we go from, Hannah, this product that is just this idea that you create the first version in your house to now you guys are absolutely killing it when it's brand association and brand affiliation with other athletes and on YouTube and things like that? I know there's a massive gap there, but can you kind of catch us up to speed on how we went from the idea in the house to now I'm seeing it at races, it's on some of the biggest name athletes in these gravel events that are happening this year? How do we get there?
So yeah, I think this is where I kind of come in.
Sure.
Hannah developed this incredible product. And so just to take a step back, I'm 49 years old. I've been on the mountain bike for 25 years or so. And I was always the guy I only took water because I was never doing any rides that were longer than an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I'm always religiously checking Strava for the my home mountain bike course in Lorton, Virginia, called Fountainhead. And I guess it was in the fall of 2019 or August 2019. I saw a new name on the Strava board, and it was Caleb Reese. I didn't know who Caleb was, but I saw that his profile was from Colorado. So I instantly just sent him a message. And, long story short, we went and rode the next day, and Caleb asked me what I was putting in my bottle. I said water. He gave me some flow to try. He gave me, his business card with a little coupon code. So I ordered a bunch, and, I just started feeling better after my rides, and, setting some PRs and all that kind of stuff. And it just so happened to be at a time where I was thinking about starting my own mountain bike company or a mountain bike team. And, it just kind of made sense. Started having a conversation with Caleb and Hannah. They were looking at growing their business. I was in a space where I could, dedicate some time to this. And so I invested some money and a whole bunch of time. And, we first started out by just kind of assembling a mountain bike team. And one of our first guys that we really brought on was Dylan Johnson. He's not per se a member of the Flow Formulas mountain bike team, but he's our first real athlete that we sponsor.
Yeah.
And, we were able to, at the same time that we brought him on, we started picking off a lot of, really top level local guys in the mid-Atlantic area. And, we designed our kits, we coordinated with Dylan that our kits would kind of be similar because Dylan was going to, kind of be his own privateer entity and bring on these other guys and gals. And, we just kind of took it from there. It was just to assemble a team of like really good, cool riders, and then also use that in local podiums and stuff to kind of start getting the Flow Formulas name out there.
Yeah.
And that was in we started doing that in 2019, 2020. I think we had two races before COVID hit. And, one of them that was really big was Dylan Johnson did the, I'm blanking on the Sugarcane 200 gravel race down in Florida, which was cut to 150 miles. But he ended up winning the race and, beat Ted King and Jeremiah Bishop, Jeremiah's one of our athletes too, now after that. But, that kind of put us on the map, and we started getting more and more people reaching out because of Dylan's content. And we assumed a team up in Denver that Caleb used to race on, the pedal pushers team. So we have an affiliate team out there of really good riders. And then the same thing happened in Pittsburgh, the Syndicate racing team, which really respected. They have a 2-time national champion single speed rider, Jim Litzinger. They've got a bunch of really strong people. Will Lovner, who we met at the Shenandoah 100 last year when he came in second place behind Dylan. So we've just been, kind of assembling a lot of local area top riders, and just and just attaching the Flow name to them, and just kind of trickles down into their individual networks and stuff like that. So that was kind of like really the grassroots start to it. But along with Dylan came the introduction to Jeremiah Bishop, and just we send these folks some product and let them try it. If they, it's never a pressure situation. Say, here's a bunch of product, use it as much as you want. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it. And if it's something that you really love and you want to be a part of the Flow Formulas family, then then we take it from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I'm sure you have questions, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to kind of hear how you start to snowball, something like that, because that's, what my company does for those listening that aren't 100% aware. We do digital marketing, so one of the things we get asked all the time is just input and questions on like, hey, should I be doing influencer marketing? And the answer is, well, yeah, if you're able to figure it out and do it right, yes. But there's social media is in such a weird spot today that there's so many people that have large followings that don't know how to leverage and actually quote unquote influence their following to actually take action and buy, or they will work with anybody that throws money at them, so that when somebody does partner with them, they don't really get that good of a return. And that's something that Tyler talked to us about on this show, was being authentic so that your audience trust you, so that when you're talking to somebody about a product, they know that it's genuine and that you actually use this product, and it not only protects your brand but helps the people that do work with you. You guys have just done such a good job of starting small and then really growing. Like, do you feel that your growth has been, as far as like all these people I saw at this race in Shinston, West Virginia, like, I wonder, like, how did they find out about Flow? And I'm wondering if the answer is just all these people that you've partnered with, and now a lot of these people you've partnered with are content creators. Is that what you feel your growth has been, rooted in, is all of that, all the right moves? And I'm sure you've probably made some wrong moves too, but all the right moves you've made with partnering with athletes and influencers to kind of spread the word of Flow. Is that what you attest it to, or is there something else as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that all the credit's got to be to the athletes and their networks, because if you look at our Instagram, I think last night we just hit 1,200 followers on Instagram, and we started from zero, and it's all been very organic. And we haven't done any paid advertising, no Facebook ads and anything like that. So. I think it's just through the athletes and getting the word out and attaching ourselves to good people, because the first thing, we get contacted by people all the time, a lot of athletes, and it's like, it's definitely snowballing. It's getting a little overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But one of the first things I say to all of them is like, we don't really, podiums are great, but they're not the most important thing. If you're a jerk, or if you're not like doing stuff in the community, and if you're not a genuine person, then we don't need you. We don't want you.
Yeah.
So, I think just having like genuine good people, it really helps. So, obviously someone winning a big race that gets our name out there. But
yeah, for sure. Talk to me about
everyday stuff.
Some of the events you guys have been part of this year. They're the biggest and the most special events of the year, and I mean, you guys just came back from the Leadville 100, which just happened this past weekend. What role does that have, or rather, what role does that play in your all's marketing strategy? I know that you're there to support your athletes and whatnot as well, but when you're there, like, it's hard to miss you. I've seen photos just on Instagram of the tents and everything that you have set up. So when people are coming through, like, it's going to pique people's interest. Talk to me a little bit about some of the events you've done. Were you at everything from like Unbound and all of those as well? Or let's talk about some of those, and then we'll dive into some of the work you've done with Tyler and his Impossible Route video series that he's pushing out.
Yeah. So Leadville is interesting because that's our first and only expo event of the year, right, Hannah? I mean,
Yeah, and I was going to say too, just to go back really quick, before Rob came on, we kind of tried all the traditional things. So yeah, to second what you said earlier, that's 100% on. And we had done some expos before, but I think it's all about timing. So yes, going back, Rob, this is the first one for this year.
Yeah. So, I guess our first like real event was Unbound, where we were really kind of getting out there. We've done a bunch of local races, but the first big one was Unbound. And we went to, Luke, I think this is the first time that I heard Tyler mention you. Is we were actually, they just finished filming episode 2 of the Impossible Route.
Right.
So Tyler and his assistant Travis, they came to stay at my in-laws' place up at Deep Creek Lake in Western Maryland, which is, I think an hour from where you are.
It's like 35 minutes. It was crazy.
Oh, okay.
When I realized how close he was, I was like, wait, this can't be right.
I know. I can't believe we didn't get it together for a ride. But it was kind of hectic. But so we actually, Tyler, Travis, Caleb, and I drove to Emporia, Kansas. Mm-hmm. So it was a 16-hour drive. And the funny thing is, we had this big plan. I had this big plan. I was going to get, the largest RV that you could take and sleep 10 people and all that kind of stuff. And I had a parking spot lined up there right by the start finish line. And then we just started looking at all the logistics of, where people can go to the bathroom. We didn't have any hookups for water and electricity and all that kind of stuff. So it just started to get pretty complicated. So at the last minute, Caleb had already planned to buy a transit van. And so he actually did that the day before we were supposed to drive to Unbound. So he came up to Deep Creek, picked us all up. We loaded all the bikes. We had Jeremiah's bikes in the van. We had like 7 bikes in this thing, but there were only two seats in this cargo van.
Yeah.
So we blew up a couple twin mattresses and a couple lawn chairs and put them in the back. And we drove nonstop, the four of us. It was pretty funny because it was, Tyler's hilarious, and it was just like rotating who's driving and who's able to lay down on the air mattresses. And it was a lot of really, you put 4 guys in a van with 2 seats, there's gonna be a lot of funny stuff happening. So but that was our first real trip. So Unbound was, our kind of a coming out party, but we didn't have an expo there. It was just all of us guys. We had Logan Casper and Will Lubner both racing wearing flow kits. Will Lubner did the Unbound XL, where he ended up finishing second after breaking his hand 150 miles into the race. So, that kind of really put him on the map, which also helped, put Flow on the map. Logan, I think we had at Unbound, we had 4 or 5 people finish in the top 20. I mean, Jeremiah finished 8th, and Dylan finished 12th, Logan 16th, and then Logan Wilkes Jones. So we had a bunch of exposure there, which was really cool. And, after that, we saw a huge bump in sales, like for the week after Unbound, which was really interesting. So, without doing any advertising, it was just our presence there. And I guess, the social media aspect of it, even though, we only have 1,000 followers at that point. So the next event was Belgian Waffle Ride in San Diego. I went out by myself just solely to support Logan and Dylan Johnson in that race. Yeah. And we had a few others, Tyler was there, Travis was there, Jeremiah, Canyon has a big presence, and similar type of thing, it was just us walking around in t-shirts and supporting our athletes and just talking to people, no expo tent or anything. And again, we saw another huge bump in sales.
Sometimes, I mean, I think in some cases, sometimes the most grassroots, like human, way possible of marketing a product and a brand is the best way. I mean, cycling and moto both share the fact that we're very inclusive. Well, I'm trying to think the best way to put it. We trust the people that we know are core to our sport more so than outsiders. It's like that in moto. In cycling, I'm going to naturally trust a fellow cyclist more than I am some big brand that isn't necessarily in my sport and doesn't understand my sport that comes in and expects me to buy their product. I think it's a reason why, Gatorade and these big brands, which claim to do similar things as other companies out there, you don't see that. They're not as big as they are in basketball, football, things like that. Hannah, with what you guys have, again, nutrition is as important as fuel for the motorcycling community. So how have you guys kind of navigated the waters of getting people to people are pretty particular about what they're putting in their body, and they kind of find what they like and they stick with it. So what have you seen, knowing that you've developed this to create a better mousetrap for yourself? What have you had to do, or your team had to do, to get people to give you a try? Or is it as simple as just saying, hey, here's some free samples? Has that been challenging? Because, again, I know how important the nutrition aspect is for a cyclist and a runner. And when people kind of find what they find and what they like, it's hard to get them to kind of make a shift and try a different brand. So what have you guys done for that?
Yeah, I think all of those things, actually.
Yeah.
Education is a big piece, but I think having the influencers just be actual, very real and authentic of this is what I use. Dylan Johnson does a great job of just saying hey, this is what I used every hour. This is how it worked for me. I think that's actually part of education for a cyclist watching that and saying, kind of going back to your story, Rob, of hey, I don't use anything. What do I need to use and what's good for me? And then that other part you mentioned, sampling. So yeah, we're all really good about just being people that we meet, just saying, hey, yeah, what are you using? How's it working for you? Here's some free samples. Try it. This is how you use the product. Once again, educating again, just so they know, they can be empowered to find something that works for them. And I think in moto and just all those sports where it's really hands-on, technical, mountain biking, all that kind of stuff, liquid fuel can be crucial.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to eat and all those things. So yeah, going back once again, education and then trying it.
Yep.
And then having our influencers kind of reinforce it.
Go ahead.
And to Hannah's point, especially at Leadville this weekend, there were a few other really high level athletes, some that were doing Leadville and then Steamboat the next day. So, people with bicycle company sponsorships that I had reached out to on Instagram and had some conversations with, and in meeting for the first time in Leadville. And it was just really surprising to me how some of these people still are in search of an on the bike fuel that works for them, in providing the energy that they need, but also without disrupting their GI.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that these people have reached this level and they still haven't found what their the holy grail, one of the people said. So, just give them a bag and say, hey, take this. We don't expect you to use this in a race without trying it. Right. Although that's what Ian Boswell did at BWR San Diego. We had a conversation for a couple weeks, and then I brought him some product on Friday at the expo at BWR, and he rolled with it the next day, and he loved it. So
that says a lot. That's you don't hear of many high level athletes doing that, as far as I'll give it a shot on the biggest day for me, which is a race. So the fact that he did, and he had great things to say, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, for your listeners, if they don't know Ian Boswell won Unbound, right? I mean, he just finished second at Steamboat Gravel in a sprint finish. So, you're talking about a former World Tour pro who could have anything he wanted.
Yeah.
And similar things with Tyler and Dylan. Sorry, this is Jeremiah texting.
It's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, I mean, you've got these guys and girls that they could use anything they want.
Sure. Yeah. No doubt.
Paid.
What is a question that we get asked sometimes, that it's a very, elementary question, but I think it's good to kind of hear everybody's story. You guys have done, again, a really good job of partnering with, influencers and athletes, and the branding, like the mark, the logo, the name Flow, and the F that looks like, has the triangle, but if you look hard enough, there's an F in it as well. Like, you guys have done a really good job of creating a mark that stands out and is memorable. How did you kind of land on the name and the mark? Did it just kind of happen and you lucked out and it looks good and you're putting it everywhere? Or did you put a lot of time, thought, and research into that? That's always a question that I get asked, because some people, like, before they do anything in their business, they want their logo to look really cool. And I do think it's important, but at the same time, there are a lot of other things that are important as well. But when you guys lead with a strategy like you've led with, which is, we want this mark to be everywhere, it is probably a little bit more important than if your strategy is not necessarily, let's lead with influencer marketing. So where did the mark and the logo and the branding idea come from?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty cool story. At the time, I was working in a clinic, and one of the HR persons came in and she did this Strength Finders class for us. And all the while, I'm kind of working with one of our co-owners, and we had thought about hiring a company to help us find a new name. So there's just a lot of things like just going on through my head. And I'm sitting in this class, and she starts talking about the psychological term of being in the state of flow. And what that is, it's basically this balance of, like, you're pushing yourself, and you have to have enough of that level of almost like, yes, this is hard. You have to have that amount, but you also don't want it to be too easy. So it's like this perfect state of, like, you are working with all your strengths and, like, everything is just clicking. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, like, wow, that's how it feels when I use flow. I just work, like, my body just goes, especially when I'm, like, racing and stuff. So I kind of, like, tucked that away, and I was like, I think that'd be a really cool name. So next step is bringing it to all my business partners, and they at first weren't on board with that term. And so once we kind of did some more brainstorming sessions, and then it was like, well, what about formula? Adding that to the term flow, because we've created an actual formula to this drink. And so once we got to there, it was like, yeah, all right, this is the name. This is it. Everybody agreed. It was like a unified decision. And then finding the logo, you kind of look around, you kind of see what you like, what you don't like. So I hired somebody to help me go to town and figure this logo situation out. And if you look at the logo, because Rob's wearing this hat here, I wanted something to do with mountains. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how do we do this? So at first we did some ideas with some mountain stuff. And then as this comes out, it's actually two flows or two F's in the logo. So you can see there's one inside, and then the actual imprint, the white part that you see is the second F. So two F's inside a mountain.
That's cool.
What ended up our logo.
I always find those, really interesting. I mean, it's little things. I like the fact that there's two F's hidden in there, and it's whenever we have done branding exercises with a client, or it's some conferences that I'll be at, like it's always cool when people point out little things like there's a forward arrow in the FedEx logo, and sometimes people don't see that. And then when they do, it's all that they see. It's really neat when there's that kind of level of thought that goes into not only the name but the logo. And again, you guys are putting it everywhere, so I figured that there was probably a story like you just told behind that, if you guys are doing as much brand partnership stuff as you are. It's really cool. So flowformulas.com is the website. As we kind of start to wrap things up, what's next? What are you guys working on? What are some exciting things, whether it's product development or events that you're going to be part of? What can people be excited to kind of follow in the next step of your all's journey?
Hannah's got some products coming.
Cool. Awesome. Anything you guys can elaborate on, or is it a little top secret right now?
You want me to go for it, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are working on another, actually this month, we're going to release another flavor for our recovery mix. And then from there, we are hoping to release within the next few months electrolyte replacement. So that'd be your post exercise, get that hydration back on track. In the future, we have some more products coming out. Some of those are more top secret, but stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
So just keep working on, and yeah, we have a couple things in mind that we'd like to do, and it'll be cool as we grow and just work together, I think. And Rob, I'm going to let you take the marketing side of those pieces that are going to come out.
Yeah. We're just gonna this weekend, I think I'm going to be down at BWR Asheville. We've got a bunch of riders there. I mean, Dylan Johnson, of course, that's going to be his little hometown race, but we've got Logan Casper's going down to race. Ian Boswell is coming. So, and I believe he, if you haven't listened to his podcast about the migration race, I know this is a bit of an aside, but he's bringing over, I think, maybe 4 of the top Kenyan riders.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think that they're going to be there. So, Flo, we'd really like to be their fuel for that. So trying to work on that. We have another rider that's going to be, that we're currently talking to, who's going to be racing that event. It's going to be his first gravel event, but he's, his name's Brandon, and he is a rider from St. Augustine University. It's a historically Black college down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And they're starting, and I think Canyon is helping with them, starting the first, historically Black college cycling team. So that's something we're working on being involved in. Yeah. So, just getting down there, and I've talked to so many of these people on the phone, and, just chatting. So hopefully, putting faces to names down there. And then after that, in a month, we've got Belgian Waffle Ride, Cedar City, Utah, which hopefully I haven't talked to Hannah about yet. This is first she's hearing about it, but I think that we should go there. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's cool that you guys, it's more of the same, and which is cool because you guys are really consistent in your strategy, and as you should be. I mean, it's working. I want to encourage everybody, number one, go to flowformulas.com, check out information about their products. But, somebody we briefly mentioned that everybody has listened to this show. It's one of the most popular episodes we ever did was with Tyler. The content that Tyler's creating for Rob and Hannah and their team is second to none. And Rob had mentioned that Jeremiah was texting him. It's somebody that is he's a former world-class World Tour cyclist. He does these insanely overwhelming rides, and they call it the Impossible Route, and they've turned it into a series. And they've if you go to their site, on the very front of the page, you'll see 7 days, 761 miles, 47,788 feet, and then you can click to watch the some of the episodes that they've done, and just watch how Flow has kind of been folded into that content seamlessly in a non-pushy, non-sales way, but in a way that after you watch it, you're like, I want to try this, and use that as inspiration for maybe what you can do with your brand. Man, what you guys are doing is, it's really cool just to watch how this past year, it's just blown up. Everywhere I look, every event that I look, you guys are there. And I think it speaks volumes. And something that I learned today was, it's not just the two of you, and it's not just Ryan. Like there's a team of people behind this, and it's what seems like a movement, which is really, really cool. So I hope we can do another one of these and kind of get an update on, how do you guys unroll a new product, and, what's next, and what are you guys kind of doing with your content now? Because I think if people start to watch what you're doing, they'll be intrigued with, your marketing strategy. It's second to none, and the product is very, very good. I've gotten to use it one time, and it was awesome. Had zero issues with it. And again, there's a big cycling community in Moto. I encourage you guys to check it out and try it for yourself with your training, whether you're training for Moto or training for GNCC, whatever it is. It's definitely something that can help for sure.
Awesome.
Luke,
thanks a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys joining us today, both of you, and looking forward to staying in contact with you. And we'll have you on again here soon.
Cool.
Right on.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Look forward to it.
Great.
We got to ride up at Deep Creek.
That's right. Yeah, we'll make that happen. You're really close to our headquarters, and that's where we go to ride and to ski. So I mean, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from our office. So we'll definitely make it happen.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impact Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpact.com. That's ThinkImpact.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.